I knew it. I knew it. I always knew. I knew it. I knew they wasn't going to leave us hanging like that. I knew they wasn't going to leave us hanging. How can they leave us hanging like that? Everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is a really quick video because I just wanted to address the announcement that Panasonic made today about there being new GH cameras coming or to be announced next week, because I made a video last week about the possible demise of the GH series. But this statement from Panasonic seems to indicate that we've got nothing to worry about and the GH series will continue. They even mentioned that they are committed to the Micro Four Thirds system, which is music to my ears. Exactly what I wanted to hear from Panasonic. Thank you, Panasonic. And I guess I've got to apologize to Panasonic for ever doubting you. But anyway, we still got to wait and see what they deliver next week. I mean, I'm still expecting to see a GH6 that probably isn't as powerful as it could be, and that's thanks to the full frame S line. But you know, I've eaten my words once, hopefully I'll eat my words again. But anyway, let's look over the statement from Panasonic and see what they said. We are committed to further enhancing the G series lineup and performance of conventional Micro Four Thirds mirrorless cameras and lenses to meet the continuous demands of creators who value the strong advantage that only MFT can offer. And that's all we get, which is good enough for me at the moment, because that's a lot better than what we had last week. I mean, with the rumors of the GH5 Mark II that we had last week, there was a lot of speculation, like I said, including from myself, that was thinking that maybe we're coming to the end of the line when it comes to Micro Four Thirds and in particular the GH series. But Panasonic have just blown all of that out of the water. We're going to get more GH cameras, probably, or more than likely, one of them will be the GH5 Mark II, but obviously we're all hoping for the GH6. One thing to take note of there is that they didn't say GH cameras, they said G series cameras. So hopefully this means we're going to see a successor to the G9, which I think is an outstanding camera. For Micro Four Thirds, for photography, it is probably the best camera that you can buy for Micro Four Thirds. So it'd be great to see an upgraded version of that. There was a rumor a little while back that we might see 3 versions of the GH6. But it is possible that we will see the GH5 Mark II, the GH6, and possibly something like a GH6S, which will be a more focused version of the GH6 for serious filmmakers. But I think what is probably more likely is we will see something that is very similar to the S1H in capabilities, which is definitely no bad thing. The S1H shoots 6K video at 30 frames per second, and I think we can expect the GH6 to be matching that performance-wise. I'll be very surprised if it shoots 6K at 60 frames per second, which really is something that I think Panasonic should be aiming for with the GH6, because it really does need something to help it stand out from the full frame crowd. Micro Four Thirds is losing its advantages one by one. There used to be the thing about size, and arguably Micro Four Thirds is still a smaller format. Yes, you do get full frame cameras that are smaller than things like the G9 and the GH5, but ultimately when it comes down to the lenses, yeah, there are a few full frame lenses that are coming in now, especially from Samsung and Sony, that are quite small, in fact very small, comparable with Micro Four Thirds. But almost all of the Micro Four Thirds system lenses are comparatively much smaller than the full frame counterparts, so it always does have that advantage. But then there's also the advantage that it had on price, and I'm not too sure that it does still have that advantage. I wouldn't be surprised if a GH6 comes in as the most expensive version of the GH line we've ever seen, so 2,500, around about that mark. That's my guess, because I do believe that to keep up with the competition, it really does have to bring something special. Otherwise, there really isn't too much point in releasing it at all. Another thing that I'd like to see coming from Panasonic and Olympus and all the big manufacturers for Micro Four Thirds are really fast lenses. To be fair to Panasonic, they did release the 10-25 f1.7, and Micro Four Thirds needs more lenses like that. The main complaint that you hear coming from people about Micro Four Thirds is that it doesn't have the same kind of depth of field that full frame does. Well, once you're shooting at f.95 with any system, you have so much depth of field you don't really know what to do with it. So that is kind of a moot point once you have a good stock of really fast prime and zoom lenses. And the fact that Panasonic released the 10-25 f1.7 just goes to show that it can be done, and it should be done. That is a lens that nobody's really seen before. Nobody's seen an ultra wide, super fast lens, zoom lens like that with a constant aperture. Micro Four Thirds definitely needs more of those lenses if it needs to compete with full frame. The smaller format does make it easier to produce these lenses. I mean, it must have been incredibly difficult and expensive to produce the 10 to 25 f1.7, but producing that lens on a full frame sensor will cost considerably more. The announcement is taking place next week on the 25th of May at 3 p.m. GMT or UK time, and I can't wait to dive into the specs and see what Panasonic have brought with the G8.6. It has been a long time coming. Is it just going to be a Micro Four Thirds version of the Panasonic S1H? That is a possibility. My preference would have been that it exceeded the capabilities of the S1H, because we all know that that is perfectly possible with Micro Four Thirds, but you know, it's better than no G8.6 at all. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Just a short one, just to talk about the announcement from Panasonic. I hope you subscribe, I hope you hit the like button, and see you in the next video.